I'm at IFSEC 2011 with Terence Hewett, Director of Easy to Solve. Terry, could you tell us something about the RMS software?
Yes, I'd be delighted to. It's a risk management process that has 5 versions. I'd like to show you a little bit about how the intermediate, which is the middle version, operates in order to manage risk and also move that into the planning stage and risk mitigation. On module number 3, we look at the products for the organization, the deliverables including compliance, and we list those in that particular module. And then in the processes module number 4, we actually list all the business processes. These would be things such as quality control, manufacturing, financial accounting and so on. And then in module 5, we list all the assets and resources that an organization would use in order to handle their business processes. These would be people, they would be buildings, they would be vehicles, they would be computer programs, hardware and so on. All of the things that you use in the organization to actually make the business processes work. In the products area, we're then going to start to map the business processes to each of the products and services. I have the list of products and services here, and I can now bring into that the actual processes that are used within this organization, and using these simple arrows here I can bring in from this full list here the actual business processes that are needed to deliver this particular product. Each of those profiles are then shown. We can also set the dependency level that each of those processes have to the product and service. How important is that process in order to keep that product and service in full normal operation? We do the same thing in the processes area, and we map the assets and resources to the processes, and I'll quickly show you how that actually goes here. And we use the arrows here and again work on a dependency level, and whichever business process that is being used here, we can now map the assets and resources. What we've effectively done now is to map all the operational components of that organization together and measure the dependency levels so that we can actually see what the risk profiles are like for each of the products and services, and even down to the assets and resources components. In module number 6, we're able to look at risk analysis, and I'll firstly look at the hazards and threats. In this area here, we actually look at every single imaginable risk or threat that is taking place. For example, bird flu, swine flu, tornadoes, bankruptcy, funding, liquidity shortfalls. If you have an area that you are concerned about because of a threat that would stop you running your business normally, this should appear in this list, and this is fully under the control of the user. We deliver a fairly lengthy list with the products, but the user can change those according to their own local conditions. They answer a series of questions about each of the threats, and in here we're able to say whether this risk is of any use, any effect to us at all, and if it's not, you move on to the next one. If it is of interest to you and it could cause you a problem, you want to know the extent of that problem and the extent of the risk. If the risk is such that you are concerned about it, or you should be concerned about it, then you would set up a potential incident. And the purpose of this process is to analyze each threat that you are facing in order to set up potential incidents. Following that process, you then have a list of all the potential incidents that you may be facing. And in this particular organization's case, you can see those on screen. You establish a probability level for each one of those incidents, but the interesting thing is, because you've been mapping all this stuff together, you are now actually able to say that for each of those incidents, exactly what are the effect of any one of these incidents actually taking place. You've got all the products and services, you've got the processes, and also the assets and resources in detail. You can turn that on its head by saying each asset and resource, if you took out any one of those components, what effect would it have on the organization as a whole? Because of the relational database that's in here, you can do that. If we now look at back in the products area, we carry out a very straightforward business impact analysis with some very special features. We are able to measure, you choose the business impact type, financial, lost business, lost customers from a long list that is delivered. Again, it's fully customizable by the user, and you choose 5 periods for measurement of impact within from when the occurrence of the incident starts. In this case, I've got 12, 24, 72 hours, and for each of these impacts I can say whether at the end of that period whether the impact is negligible, serious, not serious, disastrous. By carrying out this simple drop-down process, the system actually calculates what the recovery time is. It says that if you wanted to make sure that before it got serious, you wanted to get the recovery times, you're actually able to get the system to calculate that. If you think that that's not correct after you've carried out all your analysis, you have the ability to manually override. Everything in the system is fully audit logged, and there is a full audit report for every action that's taken within the system. So now we've got recovery times that, because we've mapped all of our operations together, we're actually able to see how those are mapped across the whole of the components within the operational cycle. All of these are now all have the recovery time objectives and the maximum tolerable period of disruption actually shown. And you can actually keep an eye on that all the way through any incident and any risk that you are actually facing. In Module 7, we set up all the risk treatments or safeguards that we have against each of the assets and resources. So in here you would have things like fire sprinklers, firewalls, we've got fire alarms, control manuals, anything you've set up to try and reduce risk. In Module 8 we have all the risk strategies, and for each one of the potential incidents that we have already set up, we can set up preemptive strategies that we need to deal with before an event occurs, and reactive strategies, those things that we need to do once the event has actually occurred. Once we've done all of that, we need to think about what happens if the incident actually does occur, and we then move into the planning phase. And in here, in Module 9, we have all the task-led plans for each of the incidents that are there. People can be assigned to each of these from the personnel module, and